Good morning, team. Welcome to today's webcast. We're going to go ahead and get started. As always, I respect your time, and we're well prepared for today's training. So I'm going to share a screen with you and show you where to find this information. So currently on e-brochures, just so you know, when you're looking up e-brochures, they have to be vetted by the state of Arizona. Sometimes they're a little bit slow in their vetting, but on a direct side, currently what's available is the Aflac Accident Advantage and the Lump Sum Critical Illness. And so you have these e-brochures. These already been pre-approved by the state of Arizona, and that's why we only have certain ones on there. Just because it's government, they're sometimes a little bit slow. On the payroll side, it's accident and short-term disability. Okay. So I just wanted you guys to know that. I've been watching it to make sure that we're getting the latest and greatest information. So where I go is I always go to web ordering. Okay, so if this is not in your toolbox yet, you can edit preferences. So you just go up here to this upper right-hand corner, and you can add things that you frequently use. So you just add a tool, you pull down, and you go down to web ordering. Can't see it on my screen just because of but it's way down here at the bottom. There it goes. Web ordering is the very last tool you can select. So it's probably cut off from the screen. And then what you do is you select it. And then it goes up here, and then you hit Save Changes. If you want to save a form, add a form, they have claim forms on here, so you can do that. So ease of use. You can add a link, and that could be on or off the Aflac website. Some of it will get cleared out just if there's a security issue. So just so you know that. So we're going to go into web ordering. So go under your toolbox, and then click web ordering. And then this is where you find the brochures and information. So you hit form search. And then what I do is if I'm looking for critical care and recovery, I just go critical. I got to be able to see it. Critical. Probably misspelling or something. Care. Got to be a space there. And then what I'll do is I'll actually, instead of even put, you can do recovery, or you can just put in brochure. So if you start spelling brochure, you'll see that it pulls up level 1, level 2. Now I'm licensed in multiple states, so it pulls up different states. So if you are licensed in multiple states, you want to look for the AZ. ESP is going to be Spanish, Espanol. Okay, that's what I'm assuming that's what that is. I hate to assume anything, but what you want to do is look for AZ. Unfortunately, when I looked it up, like AZ Critical Care 1, it actually shows up as NRV, and I double checked it because Marcus is going to say that's Nevada. But if you just do this, it's going to show NRV, and it does show Arizona, so you want to verify that. And then basically you can do a couple of things. So with this, you can pull up the brochure. Some of you are able to order. If you're not, see your district sales coordinator, and they can order it for you and put your name on it when it comes in. But you can also, we don't think, sometimes we don't think because we're rushing around, I need the brochure, but when you get your interest forms back, you can email them. As long as you're being careful, make sure it's the right state and the right brochure and the right plan that they're looking for. But you can email them this PDF. So on most computers, you can roll down here towards the bottom center of the screen, and it'll ask you if you want to download it. This is usually how I have to do it on a Mac. Okay, so Windows is probably going to be this one. Mac is going to be this one. And then it'll download it as a PDF. Now you can email it directly to the customer. What if you do a presentation in the morning, you're handing out your brochures, and then they leave it in their locker, or they leave it on their desk, okay? And then they never bring it home. Tomorrow you're doing your enrollment. And so the person doesn't remember to bring it home, so they don't cover it with their spouse. And then when you come back the next day, the first thing they say is, I haven't covered it with my spouse yet. So you got to look at ways you can cover your bases as you go. So make sure that I would also email the brochures, especially on the policies that they're interested in. Go ahead and select those and have them as an attachment. Okay, download them to your laptop or whatever. And you might want to download them and just save them in a file so that you have them for ease of use and ease of reference. Okay. So that's how you find the information, okay? Now we're going to go into the actual PDFs of these so we can walk through the plans. Now, a lot of people tell me, Eric, you always train on critical care 2, but you don't always train on critical care 1. So we're going to change that today, and we're going to go over critical care 1. The reason why you would offer critical care 1 is a variety, okay? There's a variety of reasons. So first reason is a person can't qualify for critical care 2. Either they get knocked out, maybe they've been in the ICU in the last 12 months. I think that's a knockout question. So what you can do is listen, people want, the psychology of sales is people want to qualify. You don't want to say, well, you can't get that. You want to kind of arc your words and say, listen, what you can qualify for is this plan, and then review the plan in detail so they understand what they're signing up for. So let's just go through this one first of all. So it's added protection for you and your family. Every 34 seconds, somebody suffers from a heart attack. So I saw something cool one time. I've never used this before, but it might work different strokes for different folks. Somebody had a group of 10 people, and then what they did is they set a timer. And so they went and they counted, the people in the room, and then they set a timer. And then when the timer went off, they said, somebody like who, raised your hand, had a heart attack in America, So and it'd go ding, somebody just had another heart attack. So every 34 seconds during their presentation, they would have that ding go off. And I think that resonates. I think it's a good strategy. I probably should have used it. Every 40 seconds, somebody suffers from a heart attack or from a stroke. So it's very serious. So critical care and recovery insurance policy pays a lump sum benefit upon diagnosis of having a primary specified health event, which increases for dependent children. Children are charged. It is a charge to put family or dependents on this plan. So just so you know, unlike our cancer plan, which kids are covered at no cost, this one, you do have to pay an additional premium for it. Pays a benefit for hospital confinement, including continued care, transportation, and lodging. Is guaranteed renewable as long as premiums are paid, and the policy cannot be canceled. Now, it's not canceled, cannot be canceled by us. All right, so that's important to know, because if the customer reads that and says, you can't cancel it once I sign up, they should have been a little bit more clear maybe. It has no deductibles, co-payments, network restrictions, choose your own medical treatment provider. The other reason why somebody can't qualify for critical care and recovery, 1, is if they have an HSA. Or I'm sorry, 2, if they have an HSA. Okay? I really don't recommend, I think that more of a lump sum product, if it's heavily HSA, maybe you stay away from critical care if there's a lot of participants in the HSA program, because you can only offer the lump sum critical illness or the critical care and recovery plan. You cannot offer both in an account at the same time. Once you offer critical care, if then later on you offer a lump sum product, it will lock out critical care from being offered. So that's a detail that is not in any training that I know of that you need to know about. It just comes up by experience. So the primary specified health events that are covered by the critical care and recovery policy include coma, paralysis, end-stage renal failure, persistent vegetative state, major human organ transplant, major stroke, heart attack, major third-degree burns, sudden cardiac arrest, and coronary artery bypass surgery. So what I always like to say is there's 10 things. So I memorized these 10 things when I did my presentation. If you're brand new, what I would recommend is you take, can you grab me one of the brochures? What I would do is you take a copy of the brochure and you write it on the back. Do not give it out, okay? So if you really want to look good and professional and you know, like you're confident in what you do, what I do is I write my talking points on the back of the brochure and then hold the brochure in front of me. That way I have it as ease of reference and I'm being very accurate, okay? So that's just a little tip for presentation. Now, how does this plan work? So any one of those 10 things happens to you. So what I do is when I'm doing a presentation, I do heart attack, coma, stroke, end-stage renal failure, major human organ transplant, major third-degree burn, sudden cardiac arrest, persistent vegetative state, coronary artery bypass surgery, barely can say it, and paralysis. So any one of those 10 things happens to you, Aflac's going to pay you $5,000. If it's one of your dependents, now notice I might cut off video so you know, for everybody, just so you can see the presentation, but using your hands, there's more connections between the hand and the mind than any other part of the body when you're communicating, okay? So don't ever point at people, like, how does this feel? Like, that sucks, right? So Michelle's like, dude, you do it again, I'm gonna point back at you, right? So yeah, Michelle, nice to see you, good morning. So, but the point is that open hand and hands up, hands out, hands open, palm open, hands up, is delivering something to somebody, okay? So $7,500 on lifetime max for a child or a dependent, and they're covered up to age 26, okay? So on this plan, they're covered up to age 26. After age 26, then it would be $5,000, but they would have to get their own policy. So yes, dependents are covered up to age 26. Reoccurrence benefit. Now on this one, reoccurrence benefit is if you suffer from one of those 10 things, again, you know, if you have another one, okay, you're going to get a $2,500 payout. There's no lifetime max on that. There is a lifetime max on the $5,000, okay? But it's got to be separated by 180 days. So the reoccurrence benefit, if you have a heart attack and then heaven forbid 3 months later you have a stroke, no bueno. But if it happens 6 months later, 180 days, you've crossed that threshold, and then now what's going to happen is you're going to be eligible for that $2,500 payout. So, and also you don't want to have them cancel the plan after they've had a major medical event, because if they have another one, they won't be able to get this form of coverage. Okay, so that reoccurrence really comes in handy. Secondary specified health event is $250. And then hospital confinement benefit of $300 a day, no lifetime max. $125 a day for continued care benefit. So I had I can't tell you the person's name, but I can tell you, well, he signed off on a testimony, but it might be expired. I'll share this on this call, but I'm not going to tell you the person's name. But he made he used to always like to see me as a Native American man, and it was when I was a district manager. And he would come up after he already, you know, used this policy for a major claim. He would come up from his reservation into town, and then what he used to laugh about was he'd go, you know, I'm covered by IHS, but you know, I go in and get my EEG, EKG, and do a stress test. That's considered continued care. And he says, and then you guys pay for my groceries. Yeah, and he would laugh. He had this big old smile because he knew when I faxed that document to Aflac, he's getting checked for $125, no questions asked. You know, we just need that report. But yeah, it was fun. He was one of my favorite customers. And what was cool is he kept this benefit. So when his wife told him, she said, you know, he goes, listen, I'm retiring from, you know, he worked for the tribe. He said, I'm retiring. He goes, what should we keep as far as insurance, and what should we cancel? And so she said, just you cancel anything but Aflac. That's what she said. Now turn around, and I can't talk about the actual claim, but turn around, and that came in handy. But he kept the plan, and guess what? It stays at the same rate. He didn't get a rate increase because he left the group. he has the same coverage, you know. And especially with the pre-existing condition, now he has one. You get to keep your plan, and it's going to be there for you if another health event happens. So ambulance benefit, $250 ground or $2,000 air. So the same gentleman told me, he goes, Eric, I almost had 2 heart attacks in a row. I said, sir, we don't pay out twice on 2 heart attacks in a row. When they're, you know, and he started laughing. He was fun. This guy was so funny. I wish I could tell you a little bit more about him. But this is kind of a funny story. He said, listen, what happened is they put me in the air flight, you know, the helicopter. The helicopter goes up, and he thinks he's on the way to the hospital. And then the helicopter comes back down, starts going down. He goes, what, were we already there? It can't be. We just left it off. They go, no, we're having aircraft problems. So he started, this guy was hilarious. So anyway, you have a lot of fun with your customers. They really love you because you're actually paying them, or Aflac is, not the doctors and hospitals. 50 cents a mile, up to $1,500 per occurrence. What do you need for a claim for that? You just need the doctor's note or the treatment or whatever they went through, and the MapQuest to and from. So you submit the doctor's note and the MapQuest to and from their home. Hey, Jeannie. So lodging benefit is $75 per night. A lot of people love this because Aflac understands a couple of things. Number one, if we can get the weight of the deductibles, the co-pays, and out-of-pocket expenses off your back by giving you money, and then we can bring family close by so you guys can recover together. Guess what? You get better about 300% more. That's not an Aflac statistic. That came from a doctor. A doctor told me, Eric, if you get the weight of debt and concerns about money off their back and bring family close by and they can concentrate on getting better, guess what? They get better 300% faster on average. That came from a doctor. His words to my ears. Wow. So I want to go through a couple of these things just so you can see it. So specified health insurance coverage, and the customer gets this, is designed to supplement your existing accident and sickness coverage only when certain losses occur as a result of a specified health event. Primary specified health events are heart attack, stroke, coronary artery bypass surgery, end-stage renal failure, major human organ transplant, major third-degree burns, persistent vegetative state, coma, paralysis, or sudden cardiac arrest. If you're working with a group of people that don't have an HSA, that maybe you notice they're a bit overweight. Now, I'm not trying to be silly. You're insurance people. We got to think about the folks. So it's not making fun of people when I say that. You've got to put yourself in their shoes. If I was them, you know, if you hear a lot about, like when you're talking with the employer or the HR director, and I'd say, hey, how much, do you have a lot of diabetes? Do you have a lot of heart disease? Do you have employees with high blood pressure? You know, those type of things can be leading indicators where people can end up with one of those issues. Okay, very important. There's nothing wrong with being real with people. So continued care benefit, that benefit, we don't talk about that enough in training. What is that about? How does that $125, okay, I was in the hospital, I had a heart attack, I was in ICU, and then I ended up out of the hospital, I survived, which is wonderful. So the continued care benefit is rehab therapy, physical therapy. When somebody has a stroke, they need speech therapy. Sometimes you see the people, they have the side of their face that's drooped, okay? They needed speech therapy. They got to learn how to talk again because the muscles are not working the same. Occupational therapy, respiratory therapy, dietary therapy, consultation, okay? So think about this, heart attack, somebody's had a bad health habit with eating McDonald's, right? And so all of a sudden they have to go on a dietary plan. That continued care benefit, dietary therapy, and consultation is covered under the continued care benefit. Home health care, dialysis, okay? Hospice care, extended care, physician's visit, and nursing home care, okay? So the first reoccurrence benefit, the first occurrence and the reoccurrence benefit, the first occurrence benefit is the $5,000 dependent children, $7,500. Reoccurrence benefit, $2,500. But remember what I told you, that it must be for benefit B, which is the reoccurrence benefit, the primary specified health event must occur more than 180 days after the date of benefit A, okay, which means it's the first time that they got paid on it. There is no lifetime maximum, okay? So the hospital confinement benefit, this benefit is limited to confinements for the treatment of a primary specified health event. So it does have to be one of those 10 things. This is not a hospital plan. It has to be one of those 10 things that occur within 500 days following the occurrence of the most recent covered primary specified health event, no lifetime max, okay? Ambulance benefit, it's basically transportation to or from a hospital. Aflac will pay the $250 for the ambulance. Now, somebody might say, that's why I tell them, listen, Aflac pays cash on the ambulance, because the first thing that people start to correlate this with is health insurance. This is not designed to pay for the ambulance. But what it's designed to do is, if you needed an ambulance, that means that your condition is severe and you're going to need more money because you're going to have more out-of-pocket expenses. So when you explain that to people, they go, oh, now I kind of understand. This is insurance that is for you, that covers you, okay? That covers you and pays you cash because of what happened to you. And then it'll pay $2,000 for an air flight. But here's the thing, with the airlift or air vac, or the ambulance, the hospital is not going to give you the ambulance copy. You have to get that, or the customer has to get that from the ambulance company or the air flight company, Guardian or somebody like that, okay? Transportation benefit, if a covered person requires special medical treatment that has been prescribed by a local attending physician, so it must be prescribed. It can't be going to see, some kind of a homeopathic type thing, unless it is specific physician prescribed. Now, Aflac will pay 50 cents a mile for non-commercial travel, or the costs incurred for commercial travel, such as coach, class, plane, train, bus fare for transportation of a covered person for the round trip of the distance between the hospital or medical facility and the residence of the covered person. Residence, right? So think about this. Is it what happens if they've got to go back home from the hospital, and then they've got to go see a specialist in San Diego, right? That's what they're talking about here. Or from Flagstaff to Phoenix, that's more than 50 miles away from home, okay? Lodging benefit, Aflac will pay the charges incurred up to, when they say up to, if you're getting a Motel 6 for $40 a night, I don't recommend it. But yeah, there's usually something crawling. Yeah, I did. Last time I stayed in a Motel 6, something was crawling up the wall. So now that got to work for Aflac. So $75 a day for lodging for you or any one adult family member when a covered person receives a medical treatment for a primary specified health event at a hospital or medical facility. The hospital, medical facility, and lodging must be more than 50 miles away from home, okay? From a covered person's residence. So that means if you're bringing family by, and let's say they live in Phoenix, but you're being treated more than 50 miles away from your residence, that would be covered, even if they only live 40 miles from the hospital, okay? All right, secondary specified health event, Aflac will pay $250 for each person that under the policy when he or she has a coronary angioplasty without stents. This benefit is payable and limited to one coronary angioplasty per 30-day period. Waiver of premium. This is interesting. This is it. Now notice it says employed. Okay, employed. So let's just say not employed. Okay, so employed. If you, due to a primary specified health event, as defined in Part 1, are completely unable to do all usual, that means all, I think there's 4 or 5, but listen, all usual and customary duties for your occupation for a period of 90 consecutive days, Aflac will waive your premium month to month, any premiums falling due during your continued inability. So and that's something that health insurance doesn't do for you. If you can't pay your health insurance bill, they cancel you. And then you might be, depending on your policy, on the hook for all of your medical bills, okay? Aflac will start waiving those. Just make sure you stipulate. Now, if you're not employed, if you, due to a primary specified health event, are completely unable to perform 3 or more activities of daily living. So activities of daily living is feeding yourself, wiping yourself, dressing yourself, getting yourself in and out of bed, those type of things, getting yourself on and off the toilet, showering. If there's anything, those type of things are activities of daily living. It's got to be 3 or more of those functions being unable to work. That's not a rider. That's included in the plan. Absolutely. Good call. Continuation of coverage. Now, this is interesting. And listen, think about your renewals. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not going to work just for today. We're also working for our tomorrow. So listen, here's the thing. Aflac will waive all monthly premiums due for the policy and riders for 2 months if you meet the following condition. The policy has been enforced for at least 6 months. We have received premiums for the last 6 consecutive months. Oh, I worked there for 6 months, but if we didn't collect premiums for 6 months, that's the tipping point, okay? Your premiums have been paid through payroll deduction, not direct. Your employer has notified us in writing. Guys, pay close attention to this because you have to be involved in this part of the scenario and telling the employer to write a letter to Aflac saying that that they're not able to pay because they're not working. So now that doesn't mean, now listen, the waiver of premium will waive it for up to 2 months, okay? So they're not working here anymore. So the employer has notified Aflac as of the date of your premium payment ceased due to leaving your employment. You're reestablished. You don't have to be sick. You just have to quit or get fired, okay? Your employer has notified us within 30 days. You reestablish premium payments through your new employer payroll deduction or direct payment to Aflac at the same price you signed up for. You will again become eligible to receive your benefits after you reestablish your premium payments through payroll deduction for a period of at least 6 months, and we will receive premium payments for 6 consecutive months. So as long as it re-triggers and we start getting payment at Aflac, that your benefit stays in force and you don't lose coverage. Optional benefit, first occurrence building benefit rider. So this is interesting, and I checked this because it really freaked me out. Pay close attention to this, guys. The first occurrence building benefit rider as defined in the policy will be increased by $500 on each rider anniversary date, not the policy date, but the anniversary date when you provided that rider, okay? This benefit will be paid under the same terms as the first occurrence benefit, so which means after 1 year anniversary, they will get an additional $500 on top of the $5,000. That equals $5,500 first year. Second year, $6,000. Third year, $6,500. It's going to keep growing by $500 upon the anniversary date, okay? This benefit will, watch this, this benefit will cease to build for each person, each covered person on their anniversary date of the rider following the covered's 65th birthday. If you're 18, Steve Palm, if you're 18, okay, you sign up at 18, that sucker's going to keep building by $500 a year till your 65th birthday. Add this on to everybody you sign up. In my opinion, that's I just think everybody should get it. But listen, especially people under 50 or 60 years old. Why? Because they're going to get that $500 that keeps building, and then it's going to, because deductibles go up every year, out-of-pocket expenses go up every year. This is a very important benefit and rider you need to put on each policy. So primary specified health event and recovery benefit rider, you know, I didn't understand this well enough to provide it enough when I was an associate. But when I became a district and Jack Frine educated me a little bit on this, I started to really apply this. So a covered person will be considered in specified health event recovery if he or she continues to be under the active care and treatment by a physician for a covered primary specified health event. So they had a heart attack, they're now out of a hospital, and they're going to continue to get overseen by a physician, okay? And it talks about the 10 things. Aflac will pay $500 a month while your covered person remains in the primary specified health recovery upon receipt of proof of loss from that person's physician, which means cost of care. For periods of primary specified health event recovery less than 1 month, we will pay a pro rata benefit, lifetime maximum of 6 months per covered person. That could pay somebody's bills, okay, $500. It could help beyond what we've already paid them in the primary specified health piece to pay for other insurance premiums. Let's say they need to pay for their health insurance. This will help them with that, okay? They can use that money for whatever they see fit. All right. So then it goes into terms you need to know. I'm not going to read through each one of these, but guys, you need to know what really they mean by coma, paralysis, okay, persistent vegetative state. If you're put in a coma, just so you know, a little tip, it cannot be a medically induced coma. It will not pay out for a medically induced coma. It will pay out because you have a coma due to an injury or an illness, but it can't be medically induced. That's a form of treatment. That's not an event, according to the insurance policy. You need to know these things, okay? So I would recommend you read through this, understand what each one of these things, so call that an assignment. Now we're gonna flip over to critical care and recovery 2, okay? So now, we read a bunch of stuff, so we're gonna skip on down, and let's look at what is different about this policy versus critical care and recovery 1. Okay, so what I did is I took it upon myself as a district, or as associate, excuse me, because they didn't really have a big product training thing. So, and I'm a visual type person, so I laid the critical care and recovery 1 on one side of the table, critical care and recovery 2 on the other side of the table with these shots. So it just shows the benefits. I want to know, as an associate, what is covered under 2 that's not covered under 1. In the hospital plan, I took all the plans out and I said, what's the difference between each one of these plans? You should do that as an exercise for yourself so you know what you're talking about, okay? So this one looks like it has a whole lot more, okay? And it does. So I don't want to sign. I just wanted to write stuff. All right, so here, okay, maybe it's this one. I don't know what's going on. Okay, so anyway, if you'll notice, it has the same $5,000 and the same $7,500 over here on the payouts. Now, when you get down to reoccurrence, that's on critical care. So the first 2 lines are on critical care and recovery 1 and critical care and recovery 2. Same thing with the secondary specified health event, same thing with the hospital confinement. Here's where it all changes. Where do you end up in the hospital when you have a heart attack? ICU, exactly right. So this here, this is not in critical care and recovery 1. So there's not an ICU benefit. So in critical care and 2, when you land in the ICU unit, you're getting the $5,000 plus $700 a day every single day. Notice what I'm doing. When I'm presenting, I peel out cash. I do, because people mentally receive it. It's a transfer of ownership. So when you're doing this, they're like, I'm receiving it. So days 1 through 7, $700 a day. Days 8 through 15, if you're still in ICU on day 8, we know you need more help. You hear the voice inflection? It goes down. Care, right? That's what it demonstrates. Calm, which is not usual for me. So $1,200 a day, 8 through 15. Then usually you're in a step-down unit after that. And so we're paying, but if you're still in ICU, we're paying $350 a day every day, 16 through 30. You'll see here, step-down unit, it says 1 through 15 is $350 a day. That's usually where they end up after 15 days of being in the ICU room. So then it'll start paying $350 a day. This is not on critical care and recovery 1. Major human organ transplant benefit. Whoops, I saw that somewhere else. Right here. So it's considered a major human organ transplant as a primary specified health event. That means I'm getting the $5,000. But if I have critical care and recovery 2, I'm also getting additional $25,000 limited to 1 procedure per 180 days. So if you start having internal organ failure, you have some type of internal disease, some type of bacterial infection that's internal, you could start losing multiple organs. And if they think they can pull you through, they might start just taking things out. And that, I know it's rudimentary, I'm not a physician, but they'll start taking organs out and replacing organs and putting them back in. It cannot be, just so you know, it cannot be from, it's got to be human. It can't be mechanical, and it can't be from another type of animal, like a pig or a cow or something. It doesn't work like that. It has to be human, okay? Especially, it cannot be in this policy. Pay very close attention. It cannot be from a giraffe. You got to mix a little humor. This is insurance. You got to mix a little humor into it, okay? It can't be from a giraffe, all right? Too long of a neck.
Tammy would like the giraffe.
I know, we love giraffes. All right. So the other thing that's unique is progressive benefit for hospital intensive care unit. So a $2 indemnity will be paid to accumulate for the name insured and spouse for each month that the policy remains in force. This may seem small, but add this up, okay? So progressive benefit for hospital intensive care. So you get $2. Let's say it's 24 months you've had this coverage. That's $48 that's added on to that benefit. You've only had it for 2 years. How would that accumulate over 5 years or 10 years? I thought this was silly, and then I started doing the math, and it just keeps adding up. $2. Yeah, it comes with it. Continued care benefit is on 1 and 2. Ambulance benefit is on 1 and 2. Transportation's on 1 and 2. Lodging benefit is on 1 and 2. So the big play here, though, is this piece, the hospital intensive care unit. Now, this has paid me and my family more money, this little benefit, than any other part of any benefit we have in our policies. And I have almost everything that Aflac has. So, because it's good, not because I have to have it because I work here. Seriously, it's that good. This has paid me almost $30,000. Now, here's the thing. How did it pay me almost $30,000? My wife had an aneurysm. Find aneurysm up here. You can't. Okay, I'm about to shock you. Okay, this is big deal stuff. And if you don't know this, it's a big problem. So now I'm glad you're on this call. If you get put into the intensive care unit for any reason other than you can't commit a crime, you can't be drinking and driving, okay, nothing like Aflac won't pay out for that kind of stuff. But if you get put in the intensive care for an accident or a major illness, Aflac will pay you this $700 a day, even if it's not one of those 10 things. That is a big deal, because when Tammy went in the hospital, we knew we had our hospital plan that kicked in. At first, we thought it was cancer. Then it turned out to be an aneurysm in between her pancreas and her liver on her portal vein. And so that is nowhere in this policy. So the hospital plan kicked in, started paying us. Then this plan kicked in day one, $700 a day, every day. Then $1,200 a day every day after that. She did stay in the ICU room for over 10 days, so we got paid that money. But then she was put in a step-down unit, so the step-down benefit paid in. The hospital benefits paying the daily hospital stay at the same time. So, guys, this is where, you know, think if somebody gets in an accident, okay? Now, I want to take a little moment to share this with you, because if you do this on a whiteboard for a firefighter, they're going to get it, okay? Or a first responder or somebody. You get in an accident and you have your accident plan. That pays you when you get admitted into the hospital. You're getting cash benefits because you took an ambulance. The emergency room doors open up. You're getting $200. Then you're getting $1,500 when you're admitted into the hospital. But if you go directly into ICU and you have our accident plan, it's going to pay you $2,500. Then it's going to pay you $300 a day every day you're in the ICU. I'm talking about the accident plan. It's going to pay you $300 a day. And then because you're in the ICU unit, you're getting an additional $500 a day. That's $800 a day from that plan. This plan is going to pay you an additional $800 a day on top of the $800 a day you're getting from your accident coverage. Yes, ma'am. That's exactly how it works. So guys, you got to spell this out and start selling these policies in tandem because they pay in tandem. They pay, each one is a separate policy. We do not coordinate benefits even with ourselves. If you have this policy, that pays you out individually. At the same time, if it's also covered on this plan, this pays you out individually. That's a lot of money. That is a ton of money. And people need it when they go through something like that. For sicknesses, that's where Tammy landed because it was an illness. An aneurysm is an illness. So we got the $700 a day, the $1,200 a day thereafter, and then $350 a day for the step-down unit, okay? So look at that box. This one box is almost like a separate policy. You can't say that because it's not. It's in this policy, but it works. It's not just those 10 things that I mentioned above, okay? So now we're going to go to the cancer care. So I pulled up 2 cancer care brochures for a reason, okay? So why does somebody need a cancer plan? Well, listen, if you need to pull something up, pay up front. Nobody likes this one. So pay up front or no surgery cancer patients told. This woman is an Arizona resident or was. I don't know if she's still around. I hate to say it like that, but I just got to be honest with you. So she got diagnosed with cancer, and the night before her scheduled surgery to remove a mass in her uterus, Jacqueline got a call from the hospital saying she needed to pay $1,000 before she could have the procedure. The 59-year-old Green Valley resident who was diagnosed with advanced aggressive breast cancer in 2013 didn't have the money to pay in full. Alone and upset, she tried reasoning with the hospital, but to no avail because she didn't have her surgery. This is our mission, okay? This is not just a sales program. This is a mission because this woman should have had the choice. And nowhere in here in this article, when you read it, does it say, oh, I was offered an Aflac benefit plan and I just didn't take it. Well, that would have been her prerogative at that point. I can't force people to buy it. But by God, I can get out there and get some fire up under my backside and get out there and show these people this plan, okay? So why is it going on? Why is this happening? Why would a hospital do that? As healthcare co-payments, co-insurance payments, and deductibles rise, the very thing we hedge against when we're helping our customers, right? We help the health insurance work for them. More hospitals are asking for the payment up front as a way of guarding against bad debt, okay? So now when you're selecting the right plan in the discovery phase of your meeting with the decision maker, we're going to tie in decision maker meeting stuff here. So how do I select the plan? Well, you talk to the employer and you get a benefits plan summary. You want to make a note of that probably, don't you? I got a little notepad. So this is an important note to take, okay? When you're sitting down with the employer, what is the deductible? What is the out-of-pocket expense occurred if they use this medical plan? OCP, if I were them, what would I need to protect myself from, okay? And so it's it's called, Aflac, another term for Aflac is reinsurance. That means that you reinsure the risk, okay? So with that, the classic plan comes up with a $4,000 initial diagnosis benefit. The Cancer Care Premier comes up with a $6,000 benefit, okay? Children are covered at no cost, all right? So here's the thing. If they have a $5,500 deductible on their health insurance plan, what are you going to offer them? You're going to offer them Premier, right? So the big thing is, I got to cut something off real quick. Let me pause. Zoom. All right, so when you're meeting with your decision maker and you're sitting down with them and you find out they have a $3,500 deductible, what are you going to offer them on a $3,500 deductible? Classic. Why? We want to come a little bit over that deductible. If it's a $3,000, you might need to go down to a select level. Okay, so you help design and you get the employer actively engaged in this. Why? So you can say, hey, listen, we don't want to offer them the best plan because they're getting $6,000 when they only have a $3,500 deductible. They still got other out-of-pocket expenses, but we want to kind of come as close as we can to filling that deductible, because when that person lands in the hospital and they have to pay that up front, or they tell the hospital calls them and says you need to pay $1,000 before you have a procedure, you want them to get this money right away. Okay, and one day pay. They just get our Aflac Claims app. They can snap a picture of the actual initial diagnosis form, send that into Aflac, and then Aflac's going to direct deposit the 6 or the 4 or the whatever the amount that based on the coverage, that we're going to get that right into their bank account so that they can go ahead and stroke a check for the amount and pay the hospital. And then the hospital does the surgery and the person's life gets saved. Okay, she didn't have her surgery. So I used to say Aflac doesn't save lives, it saves the quality of your life. I got that from Jack Frine. But I'm here to tell you that Aflac does save people's lives if they can't get in to get their surgery done because of an out-of-pocket expense. You do an important work. So NCI evaluation consultation benefit, we'll cover that in the details. But it also covers, now you have to understand, this is not an either-or benefit. So if you get injected chemotherapy and then you get radiation treatment in a week, you're going to get both benefits in the plan. And they're all eligible for one-day pay. So every time somebody gets one, snap a picture of that radiation treatment, send it into Aflac, you're going to get your payment for that, okay? So $900 a week, no lifetime max on injected chemotherapy, $400 per prescription, up to $1,200 on oral chemotherapy, $400 per prescription on hormonal oral chemotherapy. Topical chemotherapy is $200 per prescription. Radiation therapy, $500 a week. Experimental treatment, $500 a week. Immunotherapy benefit, $500 per month. Anti-nausea medicine, stem cell transplant, $10,000. Bone marrow transplant, $10,000. And we give $1,000 to the donor for helping our customer. Blood plasma benefit, surgical anesthesia, skin cancer surgery benefit, and then additional surgical opinion benefit. We'll cover that in the details. $300 a day, no lifetime max. Hospital confinement benefit, $300 per day. Okay, and then for the first 30 days, and then 31 days and plus, so 31 days and beyond, it's $600 per day. Outpatient hospital surgical room charge benefit, $300, payable in addition to the surgical anesthesia benefit, no lifetime max. So a lot of people are getting outpatient these days, so they're going to take advantage of a lot of this, but they're also going to get this piece here, and then they're also going to get, because they're going to be going back and forth, they get the 50 cents per mile if it's more than 50 miles away from home. Hospital, the extended care facility benefit, $150 per day. Home health care, $150 per day. Hospice care, $1,000 when they get admitted basically into hospice, $50 a day thereafter, $12,000 lifetime max. Nursing services, $150 per day. $3,000 on surgical prosthesis benefit. Non-surgical prosthesis benefit is $250 per occurrence. Reconstructive surgery benefit. A lot of companies won't even touch this. Aflac does $350 to $3,000. And egg harvesting and storage benefit. Amplify this in your presentation. If you want to know if Aflac cares about women's health, or a woman that wants to have her own babies and she's about to go through chemo and radiation, Aflac cares enough to help her out with the cost to have those eggs extracted and $500 for storage. Okay? We'd sell just as many cancer plans without that benefit in there, but you need to amplify that in your presentations. It's very important that women know that Aflac is here to help them. Ambulance benefit, $250 ground, $2,000 air. Transportation, 50 cents a mile. Lodging benefit, $80 per night. Limited, a lot more, 90 days per calendar year, just because of the situations that occur during cancer treatments. So I want to skip down a little bit. Cancer wellness. Okay, I wanted to pause on this and just cover this. What's covered under a cancer wellness? The accident wellness, and you can't get these two things confused. Accident wellness, they can go in for a checkup or a physical or an eye exam or a dental exam, and Aflac's going to pay that $60 if you have the plan for it. This plan is specific to cancer wellness. That means mammogram, breast ultrasound, breast MRI, CA15-3 blood test for breast cancer tumor, PAP, thin prep, biopsy, flexible sigmoidoscopy, God bless America, stool specimen, and x-ray, CEA, people laugh every time, man. Blood test for colon cancer, CA125, blood test for ovarian cancer, PSA test, primarily done for men. But listen, that's where, ladies, do like Tammy does to me and force me to go see the doctor and get a PSA test done. Okay, not for the $100, because she cares. Testicular ultrasound, thermography, colonoscopy, virtual colonoscopy. So guys, if they're going in for a colonoscopy, ladies, if they're going in for a colonoscopy, they are eligible for this cancer wellness benefit. Cancer diagnosis benefits. I'm going to skip down a little bit.
And if they have the accident plan and the cancer plan, being a female, and they have an annual pap smear,
I don't know that is covered under the accident plan. I don't remember that, but that's a good question. Sometimes there's things that are covered by both, but you just be careful, okay? All right, so I wanted to skip down to...
We couldn't hear that question, Eric. What was it?
So go ahead, Andrea.
So I just asked Deb if having a female be under an accident plan and a cancer plan as well, because they have annual pap smears, if they could submit a claim through both the accident and cancer plan for that wellness benefit.
If you submit that, even if your accident plan, if it's covered on the cancer one, they'll pay both of them. You don't have to submit one for both.
As long as it's described on the accident plan.
Right.
That's correct.
Right.
So just be careful. I can't recall that from memory.
It does state pap smears in accident.
Okay, so it does state PAP in the accident plan. Thank you. Mammograms as well. So I just learned something.
Yeah, it does.
I just get scared because if I'm videotaping this, I don't want to get caught saying something I shouldn't. Thank you, Deb, and thank you, Andrea, for looking that up for us. We learned together, right? I'm not the end-all, be-all. And I'm glad to not be the end-all, be-all. So, dependent children. So now this is starting to get into riders a little bit. So let's cover some additional riders. So dependent child rider, Aflac will pay $10,000 when a covered dependent child is diagnosed with having internal cancer or associated cancer condition while the rider is in force. This benefit is payable under the rider only once for each covered dependent child. In addition to the positive medical diagnosis, we may require an additional information from the attending physician. So guys, that is an important rider, very inexpensive, but very helpful. It does cost a little bit more, but remember, children are covered for free. Specified disease rider. Okay, this one, I've seen this thing pay out. I can't tell you about what happened, but it paid somebody $33,000 on a rider that cost $1.32, I think, a week. 33 grand. It wasn't cancer they were diagnosed with. I can't go into the claim. But this is what's covered. Now, I'm going to try to read them. Now, when I say I'm going to try to read them, it's going to be probably like a comedy show. It's not meant to be, humorous, but yeah, you probably will laugh. Adrenal hyperfunction, Addison's disease, ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, botulism, bubonic plague, cerebral palsy, chlorhydria. There we go. Start. Cystic fibrosis, diphtheria, encephalitis, okay, including encephalitis contracted from West Nile virus, which in Arizona, we had a lot of cases with West Nile from the mosquitoes coming from the south. Huntington's, chlorhydria, Lyme disease, malaria, meningitis. It's got to be bacterial meningitis, multiple sclerosis, muscular dystrophy. I can't believe I did it. Myasthenia gravis, thank you. Necrotizing fasciitis. I'm not smiling because of the disease. I'm smiling because I didn't need help. Osteomyelitis, polio, rabies, Ray's syndrome. Say it, please.
Scleroderma.
Scleroderma, thank you. Sickle cell anemia. I'm not laughing because of the disease. I just can't believe I can't say it after all these years. Sickle cell anemia, systemic lupus, tetanitis, toxic shock syndrome, tuberculosis. Okay, we're stumped. Tularemia, typhoid fever, and then mad cow disease, because I'm not going to even try that one. And then yellow fever, okay? I get sweating just thinking about, man, trying to say those words, to be honest with you. Now, this is another, now listen, add that on for a couple bucks, or $1.32, I think it is, or $1.42, something like that. It paid somebody $30-some thousand. And what happens with that is that you get 30 days or less, Aflac will pay $200 per day. 30 days, 31 days or more, they're getting $500 per day in the hospital. That's a big benefit under a cancer plan where a lot of those things are not cancerous, okay? So return of premium benefit rider. So this, how I present this is if I'm dealing with a younger group under 50, I say, well, listen, if the majority is under 50, listen, for some people in this room, you may qualify for return of premium, which means if you have your coverage for 20 consecutive years, you will get a refund for all of your premiums less any claims paid. Plus, you can keep your plan. The rider falls off, and you're now paying less for the coverage. So it's like either way you look at it. What I do is I say, listen, men are a 1 in 2 chance to get diagnosed with cancer. Women are 1 in 3. So why would you risk yourself and your finances by not having a cancer plan? So you say, well, what if I never get cancer? Okay, so you get the plan, you pay into it, less any claims paid. Aflac will give you a refund for all the premiums you paid into it. So you want to talk about insurance that makes sense. God bless America. I mean, everybody needs this plan. I have it, okay? So, so I did a bunch of firefighter enrollments in 1 week. Went around to 3 fire departments and did these fire departments. And I said, listen, I apologize. And they said, what are you apologizing for? You guys are good. You pay your claims. I said, yes, yeah, I know Aflac does that. But I didn't make a big enough emphasis on cancer. Firefighters are more likely to get cancer than the average person because they get in contact with all these chemicals while they're fighting a fire. And so you're more likely to get cancer. And the average just for everyday Americans is 1 in 2 men, 1 in 3 women. So I'm sorry I haven't made enough of an emphasis of this, but I want to today. Then I told them about the cancer plan. Then I stepped back and I said, well, listen, if you say, hey, well, what if I never get cancer? Well, listen, if you have your plan for 20 years and you have this rider, we'll refund all the premiums that you paid in, less any claims paid. I had a line at the door for the cancer plan. And one guy says, I can't save money. It's like a savings plan. You can't say that. It's not a savings plan. It's not made for that. It doesn't bear interest. However, it does avert risk, financial risk, okay? Remember, we're reinsuring risk. Then it says terms you need to know. It talks about activities of daily living. So let's just cover that real quick so you know. It's bathing, washing oneself, maintaining continence, controlling, urinal and bowel movements, including your ability to use supplies or other devices such as catheters, transferring, moving from bed to chair, dressing, toileting, and eating. Those are the ADLs, okay? So on one instance, it talked about 3 or more ADLs. On the other policy, that tells you that they got to be impaired where they can't do it. Associated cancerous condition. Now remember, the initial diagnosis benefit is not skin cancer. It's internal cancer. Yes, there are benefits in here for skin cancer surgery, but listen, it's got to be internal cancer. Can you have a skin cancer type cancer and it ends up being internal? Yes, that does happen. But the physician has to identify it as such for this plan to pay out the initial diagnosis. Okay. So we covered there. Let's see what time we're at. We're at 9:02. So we just finished the cancer care class. The classic, just so you can see it, instead of it being 6,000, it's 4,000, and all the benefits are a little lower on this plan. Okay. So any questions that you have? I'm gonna open. You have to unmute yourself.
Is there a cost for the brochures?
Okay, that I don't know. I heard that are you not able to order them now?
No, I just wanted to ask because I saw you pull that up and add the quantity, and I just.
Yeah, there's not a cost for brochures as far as we can order them. Some associates have told me that they can't order certain brochures. You have to order it through your DSC and just tell them, or sit down and order it with them. And then when your box comes in, just take it home. We have no cost for the brochures as far as I'm aware. Yeah, there hasn't been. So it was a little weird when somebody told me they couldn't order a specific brochure. I didn't know if they couldn't find it or if the athletics changed a little bit of the policy, because it is a lot of paper. So good question. Any other questions, guys?
Eric, I have a question.
Hey, Jen, good morning. Yeah, what you got?
Good morning. So on any of our policies that offer